They say that in the heat of battle, a man's true nature is revealed. But Sun Tzu believed that if you're waiting for the battle to reveal your nature, you've already failed. The greatest warriors aren't those who survive the storm. They are the ones who decide when and where the storm will break. 2,500 years ago, a man turned the chaos of a dying empire into a mathematical certainty. He didn't just write a book, he drew a map of the human soul under pressure. I'm Red, and today we are going deeper than ever before. We are dissecting the silent, invisible power of the man who mastered the art of winning everything.
Sun Tzu lived in an era that was as intellectually vibrant as it was physically violent. This was the spring and autumn period. It was a time of wandering philosophers. Men like Confucius were traveling from court to court, preaching ethics and ritual. But Sun Tzu was different. He wasn't interested in how the world should be. He was obsessed with how the world actually worked. When he arrived in the kingdom of Wu, he found a state that was a backwater compared to the great powers of the north. King Heilu was a man obsessed with his own survival. He didn't want poetry, he wanted results. The story of the concubines is often told as a tale of brutality, but let's look closer at the narrative. Sun Tzu was demonstrating the concept of the chain of command. In ancient Chinese thought, the body politic worked like a human body. The king was the head, the officers were the joints, and the soldiers were the limbs. If the brain sends a signal and the arm doesn't move, the body is paralyzed. By executing the king's favorites, Sun Tzu wasn't just being a tyrant, he was curing the paralysis of the state. He showed that the law of the general must be higher than the whim of the king. From that moment on, the kingdom of Wu became a disciplined machine that would eventually crush its much larger rival, the state of Chu.
The art of war is structured as a progression of logic. It moves from the internal to the external. In the early chapters, Sun Tzu focuses on laying plans and waging war. He makes a point that modern historians still marvel at: the cost of conflict. He calculates the price of broken chariots, the friction of worn-out armor, and the exhaustion of the peasantry. He was the first economic strategist. He knew that a victory that bankrupts your country is actually a defeat in disguise.
Then he moves into the tactical dispositions. This is where he introduces the concept of sheng, the shape of an army. A master general makes his army shapeless. Why? Because if you have no fixed shape, the enemy has no target to aim at. You become like smoke. You can see through it, but you can't strike it. But the real meat of his storytelling lies in the 9 situations. Sun Tzu describes the psychological transformation of a man based on where he stands. On facile ground, just over the border, a soldier's heart is still at home. On desperate ground, where the only way out is through the enemy, that same soldier becomes a god of war. Sun Tzu didn't just move bodies, he manipulated the chemistry of fear and courage.
Let's talk about the chapter everyone forgets: the use of spies. In the ancient world, many viewed spying as dishonorable. Sun Tzu viewed it as the ultimate act of mercy. He argued that a ruler who refuses to spend money on spies, who refuses to know the enemy's secrets because of honor, is completely inhuman. Why? Because that ruler is choosing to sacrifice the lives of thousands of soldiers on the altar of his own ego. Sun Tzu broke spies into 5 classes. Local spies, people of the enemy's country. Inward spies, officials of the enemy. Converted spies, turning the enemy's own spies against them. Doomed spies, feeding your own spies false info so they confess it under torture to the enemy. Surviving spies, those who bring news back from the enemy's camp.
When these 5 are all at work, Sun Tzu called it the divine skein. It is a web that wraps around the enemy's mind until they can no longer distinguish reality from the illusion you've created for them. This is how he subdued the enemy without fighting. He made them surrender to a reality
that didn't even exist. One of the most beautiful and terrifying concepts in the script is Shi, strategic momentum. Sun Tzu compares the good fighter to a well-timed flash of lightning. He describes the energy of an army as being like the tension in a crossbow. The crossbow sits still, silent, and unassuming. But the potential energy stored within it is immense. The master doesn't waste energy on small skirmishes. He waits. He builds tension. He positions his forces like a boulder on a 20,000-foot mountain. When the moment is right, he doesn't push the boulder. He simply releases the catch. The gravity of the situation does the rest. This is why Sun Tzu is so relevant today. We live in a world of constant hustle, constant noise, and constant fighting. But Sun Tzu tells us to stop. Be still. Build your potential energy. Study the terrain of your career or your life. Wait for the moment when a single, tiny action will create a landslide of results.
Sun Tzu's body has been dust for 2 millennia, but his mind is more alive than ever. He is there in every successful startup, every championship-winning drive, and every diplomatic breakthrough. He didn't teach us how to kill. He taught us how to see. He taught us that the world is not a place of random chaos, but a system of patterns. If you can see the patterns, you can own the outcome. The question isn't whether you are in a war. The question is, are you the one standing on the death ground without a plan? Or are you the one who placed the boulder on the mountain? If this deep dive changed the way you look at the obstacles in your life, hit that like button. It helps the channel grow and lets me know you want more of these long-form historical breakdowns. I want to leave you with one final thought from the master himself. If you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. Comment below, who or what is the enemy you are currently studying? Is it a competitor, a bad habit, or your own hesitation? Subscribe and hit the bell to join our community of strategists. I'm Red, and this has been The Art of War. Plan deeply, strike rarely, win always. I'll see you in the next one.